I'm here today with Alex, the CEO, correct CEO and co-founder of Bitclave?
Correct, yes.
What's your last name, Alex?
Alex Bessonov.
Alex Bessonov. So Bitclave, I know, is an upcoming ICO. You want to talk just a little bit, 1 minute. What is Bitclave about, and how are they seeking to disrupt the advertising space?
Sure. So we're actually disrupting the search industry, not just advertising space.
Right.
We are a blockchain company. Our goal is to connect users and businesses in a direct way. So anything that has middleman between user and business is our target. We look at the companies like Google, Amazon, House. There are several examples of middlemen that we are targeting, and that's what we do.
Yes. Where are you guys based out of?
So we are based in California, Silicon Valley.
Okay.
Our office is in Mountain View, and we are more or less located in the San Jose area.
Where did you work previously? What kind of spawned the vision of Bitclave?
Sure.
And Alex as well. I know you guys are co-founders. Where did you guys meet? How did the ideas come about? And
Right.
How did blockchain come into the picture?
Right. So we have 4 co-founders. We started in January of last year.
Okay.
I was a chief security officer at LG Electronics, and back last year I started to think about startup. I started to think about different ideas related to data privacy specifically.
Okay.
And so I quit my job in December of last year, started to look for co-founders, and my first 2 co-founders were Patrick and Emmanuel.
Okay.
I used to be a corporate sponsor for Carnegie Mellon for about 4 years.
Okay.
So we connected with Patrick, and Patrick brought on board his best student, Emmanuel. So it was 3 of us talking about data privacy and now distributed computing. Their main research area is distributed computing.
Yeah.
So kind of thinking how you can store data across multiple computers and make it that it's yours and what you can do with data. And then we met Vasily, who actually, I knew him for a while, but we didn't talk about business. We have kids of the same age, so kind of, dads on the playground discussing companies.
Oh, that's
so
awesome.
we talked about specifically advertising industry.
Okay.
And Vasily has an interesting background. He built several companies himself, and every time when he built a company, he needed to advertise his product. And so on every dollar that he made, he had to spend 90 cents to Google, right? And so we started to discuss this, we started to play with these ideas, and that's how Bitclave was born.
Yeah. How did you guys incorporate, and when did the idea of blockchain technology come about? Did it, a lot of people, I know a lot of companies, it kind of comes after the idea, and then
Right.
just recently in the past year, so many companies went, oh, blockchain kind of solves the issue that we've been trying to solve. So when did that
Right.
happen for you?
Very similar in the sense. I was looking at blockchain for a long time. I started with Bitcoin first. It was before blockchain in a sense. I was thinking about joining several startups, starting my own company back in 2011, 12. Passed on the idea. I was not very convinced that Bitcoin by itself will be alive for much longer. Kind of pure security risks, like thinking that something will be broken, the system will collapse, scalability issues, so on. So last year, I started to look at this more closely. I was looking at identity management and some other topics on blockchain. And I think what was a really moving point for us was a conference, I think it was in January in Stanford,
Okay.
where it was a big blockchain conference. A lot of people attended. Joseph Poon talked about plasma, kind of a lot of really good, interesting areas. Actually, no, so it was Lightning back then.
Yeah.
So kind of really started to click in my mind and Patrick, and so we started to discuss about that. And so we really started to focus on blockchain in February of this year.
Gotcha. And
Yep.
when is your ICO officially launching?
So we're crowdfunding November 8th of,
Okay.
basically a month from now.
And how long will that last for?
It's supposed to last hopefully a few days.
Okay. How much are you looking
we'll
to raise?
see. We are raising $50 million, 50. We are in kind of in pre-sale mode. We raised about 15 so far. So we're doing pretty well in terms of making sure we get both investors, companies like Science, and also a kind of grassroots community people that join us to participate in the ecosystem.
Something that I think I have a little bit of an idea on, and I definitely think other people will be interested in, is how you guys differ from things like Brave, which I think makes you kind of use their web browser, which I think holds them back a little bit because you can't use Internet Explorer or Chrome or whatever to use the BAT system and the BAT ecosystem. I don't know a whole lot about how AdX works. I don't know if you're aware of who they are, but how do you guys differ from them?
Right. So we actually are right now trying to set up a call with Ivo from edX. It just takes us, I think, last 3 weeks we're talking with him on Telegram, trying to get in touch. But we'll get there. We'll talk. They're more classical advertisement space, which I think it's a good area to be in. Before I go into Brave, I just want to say that we just announced some partnership with Papyrus, which is another advertisement blockchain company. I think their ICO is tomorrow. So they are planning to use our platform as a data platform where people that would opt in could use Papyrus or maybe edX for their own purposes. And if they do that, they will make money based on this data. So we are more of a data-driven company. If you look at BAT, I think the striking difference is that BAT actually wants you to watch ads if you make money. So essentially, you have to work to earn money.
Correct.
Right. What we want to do is we want to enable your data, enable your personality to make money for you. Each one of us has something in the background that makes us valuable for this company or another. Yes. Either it's your desire to buy an expensive car, or your kids that would go to a specific private school, or maybe the teacher for music, or English teacher. There's a lot of different areas where each one of us and our data will actually allow us to make money. So these are the main differences, really.
Talk a little bit more about it. I think this whole idea of advertising in this fashion kind of just recently started to make sense to me. And I just want to make it clear, I guess, to people that don't fully understand Bitclave and BAT and this whole way of decentralizing advertising. Can you talk a little bit more about how just the facet of having a lot better targeted advertising? We have so much interruptive advertising. We have billboards on the street. We have commercials on TV. And I spoke with a friend who really enlightened me on a lot of this, who had worked in the advertising space. And it doesn't work. I'm starting a company, you're starting a company, and we waste so much money on advertising in that sense. Talk a little bit more about how you guys are going to solve it and help make that clear to people, because I don't think it is yet. I think what you guys are doing is absolutely has a use case. Talk a little bit more about that process.
I think the biggest difference that we see in the advertising world is that it's really became very spammy. It's flashy. It's jumping on you when you don't want it.
Yeah.
So people want to buy products. People want to buy services, and that's the right time to offer your service, right? And when you are a small company and you have an excellent product, if you don't outreach to to very broad audience, you're in disadvantage. So if you look at the brands and you look at the fast food, I mean our kids are growing with this burger image on the TV, right? And they think it's a norm, right? And that's horrible. And but it looks juicy and it's nice, right? So we don't like this model. We really want to be in a position where you as an individual, you control your data and you decide when and what you want. And if you are looking for good food and you're asking for a search or whatever application you're using, where's the good food here? And I happen to have a good food and I can advertise to you or offer you this experience. That's the time where we should connect. Right, and that's really the time when I'll be open to talk to you. So I think a lot of the billboard, a lot of the kind of classical things that we are aware of, I mean, they are somewhat working in terms of like their the brand awareness and but it's not what we are building, and it's not optimal. It's not what people want. And so just maybe step back a little bit to privacy and how I see world changed in the last few decades. Started from nobody cared about data to data worth a lot, and people make a lot of money on your data, to now GDPR and kind of efforts in Europe specifically, where people are saying you have a right to own your data. You have a right to know what service providers knows about you, and if you want to be forgotten, you should be forgotten. Right? So we really want to take this back, to give the power back to the users, and honestly, you can't do it without blockchain. I mean, blockchain right now is still not at scalability levels that we need to, but it has to be decentralized. It has to be so that you own it. It's not owned by one central entity.
It's funny you mentioned, I think, about your like kids looking at like a juicy burger.
Right.
I think we were talking about at lunch yesterday. One of Alex's biggest motives behind
Vasily.
Vasily, sorry.
Yes. No worries.
Vasily is one of his biggest motives behind Bitclave was his children, and he saw what they were seeing on TV and the commercials. I know you mentioned you had kids similar to his age, so.
Right. We have same concerns, and he's vegetarian, so for him, burger is really something he doesn't want to see.
It's interesting because as I grow up and I get older now, I have the level-headedness to kind of be aware of that advertising on TV, and we're not probably, as susceptible to that, but it's interesting to see, I'm still kind of in this middle age here, and I can see how all that commercial and advertising sort of influenced me to be the person I am right now.
Right.
You guys have, you mentioned, you guys are trying to disrupt things like Facebook and Google and Amazon. Something that I think was interesting that I spoke to with my friend Johan about is a lot of people in this space kind of understand this issue, I suppose, and maybe they haven't solved it yet because they haven't sort of figured it out. But a lot of artistic people are creating these ads, and then they just want to do art and have nice work, and you have people kind of leveraging it and throwing it down people's throats in a way that makes whoever they're working for money. How come? What do you think, in your opinion, has prevented this from moving to a solution like this? Has it just been the advent of blockchain technology? Is that all it needed? What has prevented us from moving to a model like this now? And it seems it is so cost ineffective.
Well, it's hard to say. I think so really blockchain brings, and in general, improvements in technology are extremely important. So if you look, 20 years back, neural networks existed and machine learning was out there, but it was a dead science. Nobody could do anything with it, and artificial intelligence was very weak, and people knew the same algorithms they know now, but they couldn't use it, right? Okay, so now, fast forward 20 years now, people are talking about creating a brain. People are really getting to the point where all of these things become very practical, right? And that's improvements in hardware, improvements in technology, improvements in many, many different areas. Similar with blockchain. I think when blockchain started 2010, 11, people were looking at that, and number of transactions was very low, and it's still low. But people started to see the light in the tunnel. People started to see how you can build a scalable blockchain solution. And so a lot of the new applications that are coming out now are really thanks to the fact that you have this. When Patrick and I started, and we initially talked about blockchain, distributed computing, we didn't look actually at the blockchain. We looked at the fact that you have so many different computers around the globe. And the question was, how can you make them do some computations for you?
Yeah.
Right now, there is a chicken and egg issue, because to get on these computers, you need to make these computers run some software, right? And that's where blockchain helps, because blockchain comes into your home, and essentially, while you're doing some mining, some computations, and your computer is idle, you potentially can make some useful things, right? And so what I see now is that in advertisement business, and in a lot of the businesses, people were moving kind of into a centralized way, and if you want to compete with them, you only had one option, which was another centralized way, right? And so if you want to compete with Google, you have to build another Google, right? And yes, you might be able to build it more efficiently, but to build so many servers, to build so many data centers, it's very, very difficult. So that's why I believe that 2017, 18, and probably 2020 is where we'll start seeing the world is changing towards real decentralized scalable solutions.
On the note of the whole blockchain space and scene right now. When you approach these new people and companies and people that are interested in utilizing this technology, how do they first take it? Because obviously blockchain is incredibly new. What do they think of it? Does Amazon and Facebook, are they aware? Are they scared of what this new decentralization comes to offer? Do you think they know who Bitclave are yet?
Well, some of them know. I don't think they're scared. I think, I worked at Microsoft in 2004, and Microsoft was not scared of Google. Microsoft, Steve Ballmer was talking to us and telling us how Microsoft will dominate the search space and so on. So it's very hard, when you're at the top, it's very hard to look down and see the competitors. It's a very, the companies that will actually disrupt the industry. Now we are, Bitclave is not the only company that is doing, innovative work. There's literally thousands of companies right now on blockchain community, and each one of them threatens somebody. And, I think you see a lot of banking examples where banks are starting to look more seriously into blockchain and look more seriously into Bitcoin and try to understand if it's a threat or not, right? And they don't know. Honestly, ask any person in bank, do you think it's a threat? Everybody will say yes, but how real the threat is, they don't know. So I bet it's the same as Google with Facebook. They're looking at us, they're looking at other companies that build something similar, and they're asking themselves, they're also, they're very innovative companies. So I'm actually looking forward for the, potential competition and to move the progress. Our goal is not to defeat Google or Facebook. Our goal is to liberate the data, to help people to control the data, and shift this paradigm. You can make money off your data. That's you. It's you who owns this, and not some corporation.
Absolutely. What do you guys do? What's the biggest thing to help get your message out there and what you guys are doing? And instead of the traditional, a lot of guys, what you're trying to do is get rid of that spammy, clicky advertising. So what are you guys doing to get your message out there? What's the best way to help people understand?
Talking to people like yourself, right? Making sure that people are aware. And yes, you are on the YouTube, and that's a Google platform, right?
Yeah.
So we use the platform essentially to
so
to get out there.
You have to work with them still.
Yeah, and it's not a bad thing. After all, maybe in 10 years, YouTube will be there, and it's just there will be change in how it works. So we reach out to community. We have a pretty big, healthy community, trying to spread the word. Being here on the floor of a big blockchain conference, I meet people that would participate in blockchain pre-sale, in Bitclave pre-sale, and I hear a lot of really good comments. People are rooting for us, so that's great. So it's that's how you change things, but by building the community.
One last question, unrelated to sort of Bitclave. What do you think the price of Bitcoin will be by the end of the year? What everyone thinks, John McAfee is very outspoken. He said on, I forget if it's on Twitter or TV or both, he said 500,000 by, I forget when.
Okay.
What is your opinions? What do you think Bitcoin will be at by the end of the year?
By the end of this year?
Yeah, the end of this year.
I'll be surprised. I'll be surprised if it changes much from where it is right now.
You think we're pretty high right now?
I think it's pretty high. I can't really explain the value of the current estimation, evaluation. I think I myself, I don't trade, and I'm not looking to benefit from the growth of Bitcoin or Ethereum. I'm more into technology, and the idea that blockchain itself, not Ethereum specifically, but blockchain itself has a big potential. And either it's Ethereum or some other platform, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. So I know at the beginning of the interview you said your ICO starts November 8th. You guys are looking to raise $15 million. How can people find you guys? Where are you guys online, and what's the best way to get in touch? Sure.
So you can definitely go to our website, bitclave.com. Right. Make sure you use HTTPS. Make sure it's verified certificate. There's a lot of scams out there, so don't fall into that. You can reach us at Telegram. We are very active on the Telegram community. We have a WeChat group if somebody wants to go through WeChat route or Slack. We have a really good Medium blog post, so I definitely encourage people to follow us on Medium. And if anybody has any questions, you can find me on Slack or on Telegram. And so that would be a really great way to connect with us.
Okay. All right. Well, it was a pleasure speaking with you, Alex.
Okay,
we
same
wish
here.
you the best of luck.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.